Okay. What I wanted to say to you is that these last 4 days, this conference, the Global Summit, intended to be the place where locally led civil society organizations from around the world came together to claim a space, set priorities, and shape the future of disaster risk reduction and climate action. In this sense, we are delighted to introduce you to Anshu Gupta, who is not just the founder of Goonj, a non-governmental organization based in Delhi, but he is one of the most relevant entrepreneurs of our sector. As said, Anshu founded Goonj with a mission to highlight some basic but ignored needs of people on the development agenda, using clothing as a metaphor. Through Goonj, Gupta built a barter system between rural communities and urban surplus material, transferring material resources like clothing, utensils, food grains as compensation for labor like digging wells, building schools within the community, repairing roads, and general community development, reaching indeed 23 states in the subcontinent, probably some more right now. In other words, using the discard of the cities and efforts and knowledge of the most vulnerable as a new resource for eliminating poverty. Anshu's work offers the world a sustainable economic model. Yes, and himself, his team, communities do that, prioritizing dignity, prioritizing dignity of members of the communities and putting the decision making back into their hands. Anshu has also added dignity, as I said, as an important lens to define development for people. Well, as you will probably know, he's been recognized by the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation for his creative vision transforming the culture of giving in India, and has been also recognized as a social entrepreneur of the year award by the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship. And the Forbes magazine listed him as one of the India's most powerful rural entrepreneurs. Well, without further ado, and in the hope that I have made justice to his career and incredible job, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce you all, Anshu. The floor is yours, Anshu.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for such elaborate introduction, and also for doing what you're doing. I think most important part, because for the last 4 days, unfortunately, I've not been able to become part of many sessions, but I've been following what is happening, and uh, this is actually happening at a time when, unfortunately, the world is going through all kind of disasters, not only say the natural disaster, but human made and all that. And I think that is the time our life becomes much more important, because our life is not just about ourselves, but also, all of us of this community are trying to do something, something meaningful. Uh, Thank you all for joining. I think I will certainly be very keen if we can make it much more interactive. But before that, uh, maybe I'll just share the story, because the journey of Goonj, which is a Hindi word, it's a local language word, uh, and the meaning of that is echo, right? I mean, how does it spread? The ripple effect, you can say. And to be honest, I always tell people that maybe we didn't do Goonj, rather Goonj happened to us. Okay, because many times all these things really choose you to do something. Otherwise, I come from a very beautiful small town of India, a mountain town of India. And then maybe many of you here in this group will relate to me when I say this, that when you come from the smaller places to the bigger places, and that too in the era when Google was not there, when so much of social media was not there, when media was not there like this, the way it is, a lot of meanings start changing for you, right? I mean, I still remember that how in my beautiful town of Dehradun, I used to see the footpath or the sidewalk as a place to walk, right? But when you come to the city of Delhi, the capital of this beautiful country called India, you find that hundreds of kids actually go to the school from the sidewalks, and then hundreds of people also come back, after working and all that. You suddenly realize that it's not just a place to really walk, but it's also home to hundreds of people. Then a concept of homeless people was introduced in my journalism days to me. And I always used to wonder that the people who are actually called homeless, to be honest, are not homeless because far away from here, they have a home, they have a house, and in search of better future, they migrate to the cities, and it's like a forced migration, which also is one of the biggest reason of whole lot of I mean because of disasters all that happen in a big way, and then before they settle down, they go through a tough phase, right? And that's the genesis of this story of Goonj. In February, we completed our 27 years, and let me just share some of the things. Why do we do what do we do, and how do we see disasters? To be honest, when we started Goonj, the very basic thought or concept was, which is still true, that why do we wait for a disaster to stand with people? Because half the world, in any case, does not need a disaster, right? Large part of our population across the globe is actually going through huge amount of economic and social issues, or which is almost equivalent to a daily disaster in their life. So they actually do not need a flood, or say a cyclone or a war to get some attention. Right? That was the whole concept. Next, uh, if you can change the slide. So, to be honest, a lot of people who know us, they think that we are a disaster relief organization, disaster response, preparedness, mitigation organization, climate organization, or a circularity organization, or we work on the issue of clothing. But I always try to remind people that our work has been literally shifting narratives. Our work literally has been changing the language uh, and lenses. And this is what in the next say about 15-20 minutes I'll try to give you a story. How it started. Uh, I was a student of journalism. We'd come from a smaller town to the bigger town, and that's where you see large number of people, who have come here in search of jobs or settling down. I mean, the migration, which is a global phenomena. Winters started bothering me a lot, not because I didn't have enough woolens. I was privileged. I had layers of clothing. But when you see people shivering in extreme winters, when you see some kids on the say traffic lights and all, you used to wonder that what is this? I mean, why don't we have a system where people at least have enough clothing? Because unfortunately, on one side there is a need, but also city homes are full of material, right? And that is where a small encounter happened with a person called Habib, who used to support the local administration, because the moment someone homeless used to die, this person used to take care of the dead body of the person, right? And please understand, in my conversation, you will hear a lot of stories from India, because that's my beautiful place where we work, we've grown. But if you relate it to the different geographies and everywhere, you will find that a lot of things are very relatable, and a lot of things are very common across the globe. So this person is one of that particular story where I found that in those days, this person called Habib Bhai used to pick up the dead body to support the administration, and for every dead body he was paid 20 rupees, which used to be like, I mean, right now not even quarter of a dollar, but that time it was a good money, and 2 meter of white cloth. Uh, as a budding photographer, I just saw this cart going, some people in very colorful clothes sitting. So for me, this was just a good picture. But when I went next to that picture, and what you can see, it is written in Hindi. It says a person in English. If I translate, it says it's a person who picks up unclaimed dead bodies for the local police. So suddenly it became a story. I started spending time with the person and the family for about almost some 7, 8, 10 days, early morning till late night. Two statements came up. Habibai said that in winters his work goes up, and many times he has so much of work that he cannot handle it. And I was surprised. Fine. I was surprised to know that in every 24 hours, Habib actually used to pick up 10 to 12 dead bodies versus 4 to 5 in summers. And my immediate reaction was that people are dying because of cold. And then you realize after maybe a few years that actually just the cold does not kill people. Because if the cold kills people, even I would have died. So if I survive in the same temperature and someone else dies on the road, especially in winters, it's actually not cold but lack of clothing. Because the only difference between that person and myself was that I had two layers of clothing to cover myself. And then you realize that you talk about three basic needs of humankind, in those days, food, cloth, and shelter. Now, of course, you have mobile, internet, whatnot. But clothing has never been a subject, never been a development subject. It has always been a charitable giving. I mean, when you don't need it, you look for people. Or it is a disaster relief material. So, in many parts of the world, you end up having a flood to be flooded with clothes. Otherwise, you call it a basic need, but it's never been a development subject. I mean, all of us in this sector know the MDGs and the SDGs and all kind of development issues. And I'm sure all of us have heard 100, issues from domestic violence to global warming, but we have never found clothing written as a development issue. So that was one of the big gaps we realized. This family had a little daughter. I mean, the little girl you see, that's not Habibai's daughter. That's our daughter, who is now a grown-up girl, has done her masters, but almost of the same age. A little girl called Bano. In those days, who gave the most shocking statement when she actually said that when I feel cold, I hug the dead body and sleep. She further said that it does not trouble me. It does not, you know, turn around. Very shocking statement. You do not want to believe because our education system has always told us that dead bodies are cold. In those days, our education system and even today never told us about relative poverty, never told us about compulsion, never told us about forced migration and all that. So that was a little bit odd. That was a little bit shocking. I did the story for a publication, but that kept bothering, and that also kept telling us that what is this happening in the say in the world. On one side, you have such huge wastage lying all across. Tomorrow, if I don't need this shirt or kurta, I'll start calling it a wastage, despite the fact that it can still live for 2 more years. Fine. And on the other hand, the larger world really, really needs this material. What is missing is just a channel. Right? And we cannot wait for a disaster to support people, especially with the material. And we also realize that the issue is not just related to clothing, but it's a larger issue of material poverty. And all of us who work in the space of disaster, we exactly know that tomorrow a disaster happen, the local administration will announce that every family will get 20 kg of rice. But to be honest, we never think that a family also needs a pan to cook and a plate to eat. It's such a very basic example I'm giving you, but imagine when this happens with millions across the globe. And that's how people get into this entire debt cycle of life. I mean, because it's very easy to imagine when you say that one third of the world does not get 2 meals a day, and we start imagining that, and which is also a truth, that one third of the world or whatever number is of the world people are hungry, without understanding that maybe hunger is just one visible thing on the face of us, right? But the fact remains that if a person is hungry, that person also does not have access to anything else. Uh, no, maybe no education, no health, and also nothing in terms of material which that person should have. So that's where we realize the importance of this entire material poverty. Next. So this is what we are trying to do, a very interesting model. We collect all the used and unused material from all across. Right now, in large part of the country, in India, cloth, utensil, footwear, door, windows, table, chair, maybe exhibition wastage and event wastage, uh, carpets, flag sheet, anything and everything. Normally, the moment you collect second-hand goods, either it is sold in the market at a cheaper price, whatever is sellable, or it is given as a charity. But in our case, this entire material comes to us, goes through a very rigorous process. Uh, and we also started changing the language here because we said that whenever we give away our second-hand used material and we call it donation, we should actually not call it donation because it is not a donation. If we give it in a decent way, you can call it that we are giving it. And if we do not give it in a decent way or the material which is not usable, it is just a discard. Rather, we need to be thankful to the people who are using our second-hand goods, fine, or the pre-used goods, because these are the people who are the keepers of our emotions, who are the keepers of our hard-earned money, and the time we spend, in buying certain things. So that was one. We also realize that the biggest problem with donation is that we give what we have. We do not give what people need. And the world is so diversified, including my country, is such a beautiful, diversified country. And so the needs are different. What people wear, what people eat is different. So this material comes to us. It goes through a very rigorous process of matching the needs of people, and then after converting into various, bags, it goes to hundreds and thousands of villages of India. The only difference is that we do not do any charity because the whole argument is that at the end of the day, instant charity is okay, but sustained charity kills dignity of people. And if the dignity is killed, you cannot think of development. So we started looking for a better ways. We said that this material, this whatever we collect, can it go to people in a much more dignified way? Next. And this is where the magic starts happening. So the material comes to us, we segregate it, we convert it into bags, and then we go to hundreds and thousands of villages, disaster affected, non-disaster affected, whatever. And if you see these four pictures here, uh, people have decided to work on the issues of, say, water, structures, plantation, making such beautiful bamboo bridge. Next. What you see here is different kind of pictures and activities from all across the country. Now, the interesting part is that all these people have decided what is needed in that village. So, one village will come, a community will come and say that we need a water body to be revived. Someone comes who want to make a bamboo bridge. Someone wants to do massive plantation. Someone wants to make an approach road. Someone just wants to make a maybe burial ground or a playground. Whatever is the need of that village or that community, we will never argue about need and want. We will leave it in the hands of people that what do they want. And that's where with their labor, their wisdom, they work on it. And to be honest, post a disaster, this is one of the most important activity because disasters come with a lot of destruction. Right? A bridge is collapsed. Now that will take its own time to come up, but a temporary setup can be created by the people. First effect which happens of any disaster is actually the water body, especially the cyclones and the floods and all that. Water body is absolutely full of dirt, from the dead animals to anything which is waste. Now, that will take its own sweet time, but in this particular model, before receiving the relief kit or after receiving the relief kit, people will actually pay back by doing some community work in cleaning that pond. So all these pictures are just of such kind of work. Next. See how beautifully people are using their wisdom, their local resources, their skills. We are not getting, say, engineers from the cities to do all these work, because the fact remains that across the globe, at the end of the day, the cities are made by the people from the villages. We are fed by the people from the villages, so they have huge amount of wisdom, they have huge amount of labor. So right from reviving a well to massive plantation to this traditional form of developing kitchen garden. Next. To building these roads and these bridges. Just to repeat the model, you get material uh, from people's home, from retail chains, from customer return, from big showrooms, something which is season change and all, goes through rigorous process. Then we go to the community, discuss with community what is the need, what is that work which they want to do. They take up these huge activities across the country. After a few days of work, they receive that family kit, that material in a very dignified way. So we actually, to be honest, we have demolished the entire concept of charity, which is mostly connected with the used material. Next. Next. So a lot of work on water, which is happening just in this model. Next. So you tackle drought, but you also tackle floods. And we are just saying that first thing which we need to do in the world, we do not want to change the world, we want to improve it first. And if you see these four different pictures of various ponds, post disasters, before disasters, this is where communities have taken up in their hands to clean it up, and then they receive that material kit. Next. Similarly, if you do not have a school in a remote area, and the parents are also not part of that education system, this is where parents become a part of the system. So what you see, this bamboo thing, is actually a wall, a bamboo wall of a school which was created by the community. Next. And once they make it, they receive this, what we collect from people or recycle, that's what they receive as a reward. Next. Now, one of the major thing, and these are a couple of stories, and we'll open up for the Q and A all. One of the thing which we realize, and I think many of us working in different countries will agree with this. While working on the issue of clothing, we just asked a very basic question. We said that every woman in the world needs a piece of cloth for say 5 days in a month. It's a very taboo subject in many communities, many cultures. We don't want to talk about it. Even in many countries, if you go and buy a sanitary pad from the best possible place, that sanitary pad actually is wrapped in a black polythene or a newspaper, because there is a culture of shame and silence around this. We started asking that what is this women actually using in these days across the globe, fine? And this is not a women issue. I mean, this is a human issue, and this is to do something with the health. uh, and especially in this scenario of disasters, that's absolutely becomes completely ignored. I mean, if you have seen the COVID phase, and across the globe, a lot of people were walking back to their places, and one of the simple need which was never talked about was this sanitary pad for women. So I remember roaming around in one part of the village, and that is where a lady shared that how one of her sister used a piece of blouse, which is a traditional Indian wear, uh, uh, and which had a small rusted hook, uh, and how that lady actually died of tetanus. Right? That opened up. We started exploring this issue across the globe. And then what we found is true to literally maybe a large part of the world, that large number of women use a dirty piece of cloth because for them it's a synonym of dirt. If they wash it, if they have access to water, if they wash it, they cannot dry it in sunlight because of various reasons. If you have 2 to 3 women in the family, they share the same piece of cloth. Not only that, right from these tree leaf, to use sanitary pad, newspaper, grass, cow dung, anything and everything which can stop or which can absorb is used as a sanitary pad. This is one of the biggest reason across the globe of uterus removal at the childbearing age. And this has never been a subject, unfortunately, in many countries. And especially in the time of disasters, we hardly talk about it. Next. This is what we started doing. We started converting used cotton cloth into a sanitary pad. We call it My Pad. We've done millions of that. Uh, and every single pad is reused. Every single pad, uh, I mean, this is also the cheapest possible solution because it is reusable. It is also 100% environment friendly because it is a piece of cotton cloth. Right? But more important for us was not to use this small piece of cloth as a pad, but for us, it was also a tool to talk about this ignored subject, a tool to talk about it, a tool to open up. And that's how if you see that circle of people, we call it break the silence meeting. In Hindi, it is called Chupi Todo Baitak, break the silence meeting, which we do in thousands just to open up this issue and just to mainstream it and just to make sure that post disaster, uh, this just does not become a part of the relief, but there are certain sustainable efforts which you need to work on it. Next. And every single piece of cloth which was called wastage, which used to be, people used to see it. I mean, the common word which was used was discard, and the dustbin used to be the most, common places for that. Now it is creating huge amount of employment. So the entire chain which you will see on our website also goonj.org, that if a cotton cloth comes, it will become sanitary pad, hosiery will become undergarment, torn jeans will become a school bag, torn shirt will become a carry bag. If old sari, old cloth will become a rope, which will go with a tarpaulin, or the tent when you do the temporary houses for people post disaster. And if nothing else, every single thing will be the leftover will be converted into a mattress kind of thing, which can be used as a quilt in winters and mattress in the summers. Next. And hundreds and thousands of people actually also get employment. Just to give you the glimpse of the rope, which is a part of our all the relief kits and everything, the sanitary pad, my pad, which you see, the carry bag, and a small thing we call it asan for the kids to sit in the school. So see how this entire value chain has happened with the uh, the this leftover pieces of cloth. If I go, I mean the organization is 27 years old, but if I just talk about last 11 years of our work, I think we have handled more than 72 million kgs of material in this entire process. Next. This is one big alliance which we are creating. I mean, it's so good to see how this alliance, which has literally invited me, so honored to talk to all of you. Unfortunately, the world needs more of us, but we also realize that you need more conversation on disasters. You need to completely change the narratives about disasters. When we give away 10 kg of rice to a disaster affected family, and suppose someone else also gives, and we start talking about that how the relief is not happening proper and how people are getting twice, we do not understand that someone has actually lost something which that person has created in the last, say, 3 generations. Right? We realize that how in our childhood, in our schools, a teacher used to tell us that when an earthquake happens, go under the table. And we checked with hundreds of kids all across the globe in our sessions and all. And we asked that how are the disasters or about disasters people talk about in the schools. And we realize that even today, large number of teachers are telling the students that when a disaster happen, or a largely earthquake, when an earthquake happen, go under the table. And can we imagine that tables are evolved, tables are of plastic. We no more live in a single story house, we live in a multi-storied house. So I don't know how going under the table will save us from an earthquake. So disasters have evolved, tables have evolved, but the learning is not. That is where we are creating this entire SARD, Societal Alliance for Resilience and Response to Disasters. The whole idea is that how do we go to the academics to talk about it? How do we create these exhibition spaces? How do we create different conversations about a disaster? How do we tell people that disaster is no more a subject of north or east or south, whatever? Disaster is next door. COVID taught us that, and unfortunately, wars are teaching us that. And if you see last few years of disasters, the geographies which never experienced the riverside bungalows, which used to be so expensive, and we used to enjoy life in that. To be honest, now in monsoon, every river becomes a threat for us. So this alliance is about preparing ourselves for that. This alliance is about talking to the next generation because they become the decision maker. This alliance is about pre-committed resources so that when a disaster happens, we do not spend a lot of time just in say signing the MOUs. Next, some work, absolutely as a stakeholder, no concept of donor and beneficiary, because we have been arguing that if I give money or material, I am a donor, but when the community gives bamboos to make a bamboo bridge, how come they are beneficiaries? We are arguing that my skill is the skill of donor, then how come the skill of community is the skill of beneficiary? We are arguing that my time is the time of a donor, but how come the when the community is spends time, how come their time is the time of the beneficiary? So to me, this entire division of donor and beneficiaries, so called, is absolutely wrong. Is absolutely it just creates a power structure. All of us are a stakeholder. To be honest, we need to be thankful to the people who give us a chance to work with them, because millions of people are like absolutely guinea pigs, or are treated as guinea pigs. If the success happens, we claim that it is our success. But if the failure happens, they face the brunt of it. So that's where I said that our work has been on changing this narrative and language and lenses. Next. I will not, talk much about it. This is the entire SARD cycle, which I've already, to be honest, explained. Next. This is one thing which is called Gram Swabiman, which is a self-respect of the village people, which is, I mean, the whole concept is about changing the narrative. And actually talking about a very simple word, but very demeaning word and a thought, which is called poor. So we are arguing who is poor? How come the farmers who have come out with 8,000, 10,000, 20,000 variety of rice are still called unskilled? How can we call them unskilled? How can actually unskilled people do such farming? And all of us suffered in COVID, fine. Maybe only 10-15% people of this larger population needed medical support or survived because of the medical support. But do we understand that 100% people in the world survived not because of the machines or the factories, but because of the farmers? So this is again changing the narrative that when we give away 10 kg of rice to someone in the village and we call that person a beneficiary, do we remember that we are the constant beneficiaries of that larger population in the world? If they would have got the fair wages, whole lot of us wouldn't have been able to even say touch rice. We can't imagine cakes then. So we are the constant beneficiaries of the people with whom we are actually trying to work, and maybe we are not giving back. We are actually paying back because it's like a debt on us, and that's what this entire concept of GS is really doing. Next, just to give you some glimpses how. this entire thing is happening, how people are listening, how people want to become a part of it. Because to be honest, in this world, now everyone is looking for some good, some positive narrative. Next, next. We are open for application. We want this idea to be copied. It has successfully done some work in one of the biggest lab of the world called India. Uh, Please reach out to us if anything we can do in any part of the world, because the good work, the good part of the work which all of us are doing, we do not have any geography, any religion, any caste, any community. Wherever people need us, all of us are there. And that's the beauty of this beautiful sector. Next. This is an institution which we are creating so that this knowledge actually goes far away wherever. To be honest, in 2015, the Magsaysay Award which we received, in the acceptance speech, we have actually said that we are giving a copyright to copy our idea, and we mean it. Next. This is what I was talking about. Some 72 million kgs of material, some more than 100,000 of those projects which you saw, where the which was basically a proof of barter, where on one side it was urban underutilized material, and on the other side it was the wisdom and the labor of the people. So there is no one who is a beneficiary; everyone is a stakeholder. Next. And this is how the economic model works. We have budget of about $8-9 million, but that's the money part of it. But if you start considering material also as a currency which we collect, which otherwise would have large part of it would have gone in the landfill sites, is actually a new currency. And then we talk about the local resources, labor, and wisdom. That's another 2x. So this is one model where money is one part of it, but your working capital is 5x. I mean, today in this 40 minutes we can't talk about everything, but we are absolutely open that we talk to each other, and we explain what we are trying to say, and we want people to replicate the model, because in the era where we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about climate change, we are talking about circularity, landfill, system change, listening, giving agency. I think all of us can do this, maybe in a much lesser cost also. Next. My last picture. Okay, don't change it till I say. In the normal sessions, we invite people that when you see this kid, what is that first word, sentence, thought comes in your mind? Like, I always relate this kid to the hunger, and I feel this kid is hungry. And we have seen in a big hall that how people say that the guy is shivering, the guy is asking for something, the guy is pleading, this person needs help, this person does not have parents. Whole lot of negative words within first 1 minute. Fine. Next. And then we show this picture. And people comment happy, dignified, whatever, whatever. And that's where we come, and we always tell people that listen, this is actually not the story of clothing, because by the look of it, we feel it's a clothing, it's an issue of clothing. No, it is actually the issue of our language and lenses, because the fact remains that if the first kid was hungry, the kid is also hungry. If the first kid was not going to the school, even the second kid was not going to the school. Nothing changed except a piece of cloth. But the fault was in our lenses. Who am I to claim that the first kid was actually hungry? How do I know? I have not even spoken to that kid. I just clicked the picture, fine, and I'm claiming that that kid is hungry. That is what in this world needs to change. Next. See this person. How many of us will call this person in our meetings? How many times this person will be able to speak? And if he speaks, how many of us will actually listen to him? How many of us will go and stay at his place or have a cup of tea with him? Next. And this person has much more probability of that. This person is much more acceptable. Fine. My language will change, my behavior will change. I will. This person will come and speak. We will listen also, and it's such a sad thing at the end of the day. because both the people are absolutely same. Both the people have same wisdom, same age, same everything. It is it is it is our lenses, it is our narratives, it is our language which needs to change. Next. So with the material as a tool, with clothing as an issue, with dignity as soul, uh, this is what we are trying to do. Lage raho means be on it. That's our motto, and it's a journey of 27 years. And with love of all of you, I'm sure it will go on. I'll stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anshu. This is really, really inspiring. Really, it's really an amazing experience. 27 years of hard work. Wow. Uh, I mean, many, many questions that come up, but what you are proposing, what you are showing, is that a different system, not just a different approach, it's a different system is visible and even more effective because it is sustainable. So it's not just one-time relief kind of support. You are talking about long-term sustainable development in those communities. I wonder, I just for everybody, if you have any questions, please in the Q&A, I will go just in a second to those questions. But from my side, Anshu, I'm pretty curious because you've been, um, speaking, discussing, engaging with donors in embracing this new approach. Um, and I'm pretty sure you had many discussions in that sense. How do you see we as a sector, um, and and again, GNDR is made of small grassroots organizations in general, so we have that kind of challenge as well in terms of engaging with big donors. How what your experience has been in that sense, in trying to engage with them, trying, you know, convince them that a different approach is needed, not just important, is needed to bring dignity back to people.
My very straightforward answer, and it'll be tough for some people to hear this, but it's an important thing. We need to stop convincing people. Fine. I mean, Marcus, we need to understand that doing good is a collective responsibility. Right. This model has shown that the good work happens when someone gives money, someone gives material, someone gives wisdom, someone gives, labor. That's how the good work happens. This model is also challenging the very simple thing that maybe people are doing much bigger service to us because they are giving us a chance to serve. It's a it's a tough language. Okay, it's not one of those popular language. I mean, for us, it was the easiest thing to sell that particular first picture of the kid. Okay, a lot of agencies will come and say, and in our communication, you will never ever find a single picture like that. Okay, it is only limited for this particular presentation or conversation because we have been arguing that how long will we sell poverty to remove poverty? How long do we need a naked kid or someone crying in a disaster who has lost everything? Why do we need that? And why, even in our sector, why do we take those shortcuts? Because at the end of the day, on the other side of the table, also, there are humans and they are good humans. Some of them are bad, some of us are also bad. Fine. I mean, this is how the society operates. But what is there to impress? What is there to convince? I mean, there is a reality. Dignity is important. Today, a lot of people come and say Goonj gives dignity to people. Fine. I mean, we are known for that as if, and we feel good, but we also challenge, and we say that how do you really give dignity to someone? I mean, dignity is something with which all of us are born. After we were born, someone came. and someone told us that you are black, you are white, you are rich, you are poor, you are literate, you are illiterate, whatever, whatever, fine. So the society can only do two things. One, it can respect dignity, or it can snatch dignity. And I don't think anyone in the in the in the money giving community also will ever would ever want to snatch dignity of people. They're also human. I think what is needed is our conviction, our language. What do we believe? If we keep calling our people beneficiary, whosoever we'll meet, we will only call them beneficiary. If we call our people unskilled with whom we work, without understanding that these people are staying in the disaster prone area and every year they come back, fine. They live life, they do festivals, they dream, they send their kids to the school. And we are going to teach them resilience. Can we? I mean, or we need to learn from them. If we value our communities, people will value us. If we change our narratives and language for the communities with whom we work, I mean, people have to shift language. I mean, we do not accept, I mean, we don't sign MOUs with the people who do not talk about the language of equals. No agency should uh, say that NGO is a beneficiary. NGO is not a beneficiary. NGO is an expert agency. NGO does something which a lot of other people cannot do. NGO works with some people, right? And that conviction we need to do. I mean, that language we need to change. But if we keep selling poverty to remove poverty, then of course we'll be treated like this. Then we can't
Exactly.
demand respect. If we are not respecting, how do we demand respect?
Exactly. Definitely. It is. I understand that it is not easy, and in many occasions we have to, yeah, fight that kind of language and approach. But definitely, I do agree with you. We need to we need to start from there and
Absolutely.
and move on. I have some questions in the Q&A chat box from Johannes Bell. He's asking you if this model also work in an affluent community which are also not excluded from disasters.
Uh, maybe the immediately the cloth for work model might not work fine, but I remember in some countries where people get a lot of free doles after a disaster and all that. And our argument was that do you have a musician here? Do you have a basketball player here? Fine. Uh, can this person go and pay back by teaching music to some people? Okay, because it's not a transaction. It's not that even in our model, we will never say that if you work for 4 hours, you will get this. If you work for 8 hours, you'll get this. No, it is a better way. Because if I give, even in the affluent communities, if I give something to someone or that person receives, tomorrow I go and say, this shirt belongs to me. The person has no other way but to accept it because that shirt belongs to me. But when you pay back in whatever currency you have, okay, from music to labor, and I say that this shirt belongs to me, now the person can challenge me and say it might be yours, but I've earned it. That is the shift.
Exactly. Exactly. Definitely. Um, I have another question, also from an anonymous. Didn't write the name over there. Is he or she says, as a leader of a large national scope successful organization, what suggestions do you have for? I think that somehow you already responded to this. You have for local level NGOs across India trying to generate funding to support their local programming.
I think the biggest and the sustained funding is always individuals. The biggest and sustained funding always is not the big ticket, but the so-called small ticket, because that's how you make people stakeholders, right? I mean, to be honest, whatever, I mean, we were also that way, a small local kind of stuff. Right? But the fact remains that we were able to experiment, we were able to spread all across whatever could we are able to do. I mean, India is too huge, so we are too small in terms of the size of the country and our work. Okay, I mean, it looks big. 1 million is a very small number in a country like India and the world that way. Uh, but I think because a lot of individuals came up, and we didn't ask for money. Rather, they became a part of it. Fine. So all our awareness drives, all our even material collection drives are organized by the volunteers that way. Right. Lot of people support. I mean, and it has come to a level when, say, suppose someone's daughter get admission in a good college, that person will send a small check to us as a token of gratitude. I mean, we have no role in that admission, fine, but just as a token of gratitude or love. My humble advice to everyone, like in India, CSR, corporate social responsibility, is just about a decade old, fine, 13, 12, 13 years. But before that, also, India used to have hundreds and thousands of voluntary organizations, and they did absolutely commendable job. Right? All these concepts of HNIs and so many new words which we are in the last, say, about couple of decades we've been hearing. To be honest, when we started, we didn't even know that there is something called funding agency, right? Because we were not coming from the sector. And the most beautiful part of this sector is that large number of people originally are not from the sector. Their parents were not in the sector. Right? You have some, and in Hindi, as we say, kida, which is means you have some germ here, and that's how you jump into this sector, and then you navigate your journey. Right? So let's make people our stakeholder. Let's make local communities our stakeholder. Biggest movement in the world always happened with 1 rupee, one break, 1 rupee, one fist of food, fine, or grain. And I think that still works. In our case also, Marcus, to be honest, good amount of our money comes from, say, individual, which is like 500 bucks, which is just $5-6 right now. And that's very valuable because that gives you freedom, that gives you are answerable to them also for your work. You know?
And I think that that's something that is really important in that sense that I think you were referring as well. They are part of the project. When they support you with whatever they can, $5, $6, $3 a month, they are part of it. They are, you know, there is, it's not just a feeling. They are indeed part of that change, and I think that that is responding also the
And they
question.
spread, they spread, your spread happens because of word of mouth, right? So they
Exactly.
are the best messengers of your work, which maybe a social media post can never do.
Exactly, and I think that that's the question from Mal Reedy, also asking you how do you sustain the commitment of civil society in this within the various resilience initiatives, and I think somehow you are also referring to those that are supporting you financially or with, but also you are talking about people in the community offering what they have, labor or skills or knowledge. I think that the way, if I understood well from your experience, Anshu, that's the way
Absolutely.
you
Because
sustain
you're not
those.
dependent on a particular agency, fine. Everyone is a stakeholder here. Everyone
Exactly.
contribute. There's no donor beneficiary. Simple. Everyone is a stakeholder. And that's how the costs also come down. That's how the impact becomes bigger. Even in our case, the maintenance cost is very low because when you make it, you maintain it. You're not making it for a contractor, for government, for an NGO. You decided that you need a bamboo bridge. We didn't ask about it. You decided. So this is also very important that you have given that power in the hands of people to decide what do they want. Unfortunately, Marcus, we all know development is largely a top-down approach. Right? We keep talking about this bottoms up, bottoms up, bottoms up, but we only want to hear what we want to hear. or we only hear what we hear, right?
Exactly.
It's a top-down thing. In this model, this is absolutely bottom-up, and I don't want to use this term bottom-up, top-down. More importantly, it is decided by the people who who will be affected by this. Simple.
Exactly, and I this is something that we discuss a lot with those agencies or leading donors. Imagine that some other people come to you and say, "Oh, hey, okay, you have to do that. I have the money. Um, I'm accountable to my taxpayers, but because that you're going to have to do things this way, even though you are based 10,000 miles away from for the problem." So that would be crazy, and that would be like, so we that's the way we are questioning them. Why are you doing that if you don't have the capacities to make those decisions because you are 10,000 miles away from the problem? How on earth you think you have the capacities to make those decisions? So in that sense, what we are advocating for is also to build those capacities in those agencies to understand better what are the realities that they are trying to support, and not just impose their own
Absolutely.
solutions. So
Absolutely.
that's basically, it's been wonderful, Anshu. We have no more time, but I think it's been wonderful to listen to you, to learn from your beautiful experience, and of course to feel empowered and inspired by your very incredible and amazing job. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Anshu.
Thank you everyone for listening. And we all are just a mail away these days, fortunately. So anyone wants to, understand anything and has doubt on anything that whether this will work or not, uh, I think we should do this. And because the good part, Marcus, is that once you enter in this sector, you do not leave any option for yourself in life. So this is our life. Howsoever tough it is, whatever is happening in the world, we have no option. This is our life. Period.
Exactly.
All of us.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Exactly. Thank you so much. It's been a
Pleasure.
pleasure.